Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Find Your Model Health, the official podcast for those looking to optimize their long-term health and weight goals and understand how their body really works. I hope you're keeping really well, and I hope you really enjoy this podcast episode. One of my clients specifically was the driving factor or person behind the idea of this episode, but there's actually a couple of clients and students that I feel need to hear this too. So before I go on, I must emphasize that the information in these podcast episodes is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Please consult your health practitioner before making any lifestyle changes. I'm going to try keep this episode as short as I can. The last few have been a bit longer, but now it's time for us to be realistic about everything. If you're my client or student, you'll know I've said many times, look, I didn't make up the rules. I didn't invent biology and how it works. I didn't make bad food taste good or be so tempting. Like, I didn't make all of this up. I don't mean to be the bad guy or sound like the Wicked Witch of the West. It's just how it is. I know when I tell people, look, don't eat late in the evening. Don't try not to combine fat and carbohydrates together. I know that makes me sound awful, like no fun at all. And it makes this whole health lifestyle sound very restrictive. And I don't even know if we should be using that word anymore, because the truth is, if we are realistic about this is just how it is. Yes, we need to find balance, but I did not create the rules on how the body works. We have been, unfortunately, sold a lot of lies. You cannot eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and expect to have the body and the health that you desire. You just can't. Like, if you don't want to have cellulite, you need to be cognizant of your detoxification pathways and how much toxins are coming into your body. Like, you just do. I didn't make that up. It's just the way it works. I didn't make up that pizza and frappuccinos and cheesecakes, which are the most fattening foods on the planet, I didn't make it that they taste so good while also being the worst foods on the planet. Like, in an ideal situation, I would have all these foods taste good, but also be good for you. Now, I know you can go out of your way and make healthy pizza and make healthy frappuccinos and you can't really make a healthy cheesecake, but most of us don't have the time to do that. We just don't. We don't even have the patience to do that anymore. So if we're realistic, we have to accept, like, there has to be understanding and compromise. You can't eat whatever you like and have the body and health that you desire. And like, even eating late, we know that destroys sleep. It's just, we have to be realistic and accepting of these things. Now, I know there's a huge, enjoyable, social, psychological aspect to eating food and certain foods and going out in the evenings and going to family events. Like, I know all of this. Believe it or not, I'm human too, and I kind of have a life outside work, so I get this. I get the whole desire to wanting to have some popcorn or a glass of wine in front of a movie after a long day of stress and kids and work. Like, I get it. I understand it. And if I couldn't make it so that you could do all of this stuff the majority of the time, I would. I speak about the 80-20 rule a lot. So 80% of the time we're trying to stay on track as much as possible, so that 20% of the time we have a little bit of flexibility. In an ideal world, it would be 20% of the time we stay on track, so that 80% of the time we have flexibility and could enjoy these not so good foods and habits more, but we can't. That's not how it works. Like, it just isn't. And that's not me just saying it. That is biology. That's how the body works. That is what these foods do to us. They directly influence our health on many levels, and our body shape, our body composition, our cellulite, where we carry fat, how we even feel in our skin. Most people know that when you have like a refeed day or you eat a lot of carbs, you actually feel tight in your skin. You feel uncomfortable. If you do this a lot, you notice you get more cellulite as well. Your cognitive performance is terrible. So, like, we do have to be realistic and understand, like, if I want to live a long, healthy life right into my 50s, 60s, 80s, and not depend on a walking frame and not be sick in hospital and not on medication and just living my fullest life, we have to accept, like, there has to be sacrifice. And if there was no such thing as the junk food or fast food industry or Netflix, there wouldn't be sacrifice. So yeah, I'm kind of shifting the blame on them because most of them did make us unhealthy in the first place with their additives in food to make it taste nicer and addict us to certain ingredients, and then the temptation to sit in front of Netflix and chill instead of going out for a walk and getting some fresh air and sunshine. Like, partially, if we're going to blame anyone, we don't blame me for telling you the bad news. We blame them for creating the bad news. In my opinion, and I know this is probably outrageous, but I'm pretty outrageous at times, is these industries, they designed things to make us sick and healthy. Not only that, they design these things to take our money. Like, it's a very money driven, profitable industry to be in the streaming world or to be in like the fast food world. All you have to do is look around Airdrie. How many fast food or takeout places do we have here? Like, it's ridiculous. The temptation is there, but we have to be realistic. You do have to abscond or abstain from these choices. Most of the time, if you want to be healthy and feel good on every level, including your brain, mental health is a huge issue, and these foods and lifestyle choices contribute to that. You do have to abstain, like I said, and make sacrifices. You have to find balance, and you have to accept, like, this is the way it is. I'm not trying to make you miserable or deprive you or restrict you or make you sacrifice or take away all the fun out of life. I'm not trying to do that. I swear I'm not. This is why I try to find balance with my clients. I give refeed days, a day or two a week. I'll try find alternatives. I'll walk people through events, like, what could you have instead? So you go to a birthday party, okay, can we still go and have fun and laughter and the social aspect, but how can we make the best food choices? Like, I really am not trying to make people miserable. That's probably the key point I'm trying to get across. You have to be realistic and understand you cannot eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and expect the health and vitality and resiliency and energy that you desire. It just doesn't work like that. And again, I didn't make up those rules. This is biology. So what are you willing to do? You'll have to sit down. I was saying to a client earlier, you have to sit down and really sit down. Like, really, you can write it down or you can just think about it. What do you want? What do you want for yourself? How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? Like, really, what do you really want? And how much do you want it? If you only kind of want it 50%, you're probably not going to have the motivation or the drive in there. And what are you willing to do to get to it? Like, that's a big question. It's a multifaceted question because we can be willing to do everything. But if life throws us curveballs and stress and we're exhausted, that can challenge what we actually do compared to what we're willing to do. Like, I'm cognizant of that. Like, life does throw us curveballs almost every day at this rate. But what are you willing to do? Like, can you still have fun without everything being around food? And I know that food is a huge part of social interaction and bonding and family time. Like, I know all of this, but I also know that there has to be a balance and we have to be realistic. Right now in 2022, people are sicker than ever than they've ever been. 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, well, it wasn't, 2006 when I started my journey, and even 10 years ago, we were saying, you know what, people are sicker than ever. But how is it now, 10 years later, after we've had the evolution of fasting and ketogenesis and the paleo diet and veganism and everything is blown up? How is it that we have all these tools and dietary influences over the last 10 years and now we're sicker than ever again? And like, you can't blame pandemics or anything like that. You really can't. I know there's an aspect of it where it's like, yeah, it was very stressful on people and people comfort ate. But before that, we're just on this downward curve. Every decade, if we keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker, part of it, I would believe, is our stress levels are increasing, but the temptations out there have also increased. We're being sold so much crap all the time, every year, more and more and more. Oh, look, sit in front of Netflix. This new show is out, and this new show, and this movie, and this and that. And look at these new foods that are out, and there's this new pizza joint up the road, and there's this and that. It's just more and more and more. And we keep giving into it, and we keep saying, well, I need to do all this to feel like I'm living and having fun in my life. And that's just BS, in my opinion. We have to take responsibility and be realistic. The odds are stacked against us. Do we want to be sicker than ever in another 10 years? Where would that leave us? What would that even look like? What would our illnesses be? Right now, they say 1 in 3 people is going to end up with cancer. In 10 years, if we keep going the way we're going, is that 1 in 1? Like every person gets cancer? Like, that's insane to me. Every person is going to have metabolic disease or diabetes or cardiovascular issue. This is crazy. We need to stop this. We need to be realistic. What do you want? What are you willing to do? Can you still enjoy your life by making good choices? Of course you can. Most of it's in the mind. Most of it is in your mind and your attitude and everything. But I'm going to leave this episode at this because I think a lot of you have a lot of thinking and inner work and reflection to do. What do you want to look like in 10, 20, 30 years? How do you want to be living your life? Like, is having junk food and going to parties and drinking and eating whatever you want, is that you living your life to your fullest? Some of you will say yeah, and that's okay. That's totally up to you. Or is having vitality and energy and being pain-free and disease-free and playing with your grandkids and just enjoying retirement, is that you living your life to your fullest? The answer is going to be individual. But at the end of the day, you have to reflect on it and then be realistic on what your plan going forward is. So I would love feedback on this, even if you just reach out to me on Messenger, just Facebook Messenger or Instagram. Send me a message. You know what, Shemaine? That episode really made me think, and I am going to reflect and be real with myself. You know what? Maybe you're not willing to put in the work and you can accept yourself and that choice and you're happy with that. And you're like, you know what? No, I'm just going to enjoy this, do whatever I like, eat whatever I like. That's how I want to live. Fine, good for you. It's your life. Do what you want, but at least be realistic about it and be truthful with yourself. Don't try kid yourself. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I would really love feedback and I would really love this if you shared this episode with someone else that you think might need a kick up the behind, because this is the episode, I think, from a place of love, of course. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.